Being a quote-unquote productive person and a responsible person is so hard. But I would actually argue that being lazy and doing nothing all day is equally hard, just in its own way. So I don't know if any of you guys noticed, but I normally post my YouTube videos on Tuesdays, and the reason I didn't post a video this Tuesday was because I spent all weekend doing literally nothing but watching anime, playing League of Legends, and watching Netflix. And there was a lot of TikTok involved. And that's kind of what I wanted to talk about for a second. Like, I spent all weekend, like, for the most part, being very, very lazy. I did none of like the responsibilities that I had. So on Monday night, when I was playing like a game of League of Legends, I like won, and I just noticed that I felt nothing. Like, I felt happy for a very, very small second, and instantly that happiness kind of just faded into numbness. And I felt literally nothing except the urge or the need to hit play again and to like play another game. Underneath that layer of apathy and numbness, I just felt empty. Like, I felt hollow and I felt like just unfulfilled. It feels like you're physically hungry, except like instead of the hunger being in the middle of your stomach, it's like in the middle of your chest, or at least that's how like I felt. And that was like underneath this layer of numbness. And I kind of like just realized that like for me, playing video games was kind of like a way to numb that feeling, to like distract myself from this feeling of emptiness that was inside of me. And like, even when I played video games, there would be moments in between games where I'd win and then I'd just feel nothing. And I would feel that emptiness like creep back up and it would suck. But if you had asked me a week ago what I wanted my weekends to be like, I literally would have said exactly that. Right, so the 2 weeks before that is probably the most structured and the most productive I've been in my entire life. Like, legitimately, like, I woke up at 4:30 every morning and I slept at 9 o'clock every night. And this is coming from the guy that during quarantine would regularly sleep at 9 in the morning and wake up at 5 p.m. It was insane to me, like, the amount of stuff that I felt like I was doing in a day and how like structured I felt. Hey guys, so I'm currently editing the video and there's just a couple things that I forgot to say. And like the last 2 or 3 videos I've made, I've literally said multiple times that I was the most busy and most productive I've ever been, but at the same time I felt the happiest and most fulfilled I probably ever have in my entire life. So given that, you may be asking why, if I felt so happy and so fulfilled, did I ever decide to like just spend my weekend doing nothing but playing video games? So like the short answer to that is that just being a productive and I think proactive and like responsible person is genuinely just like a hard thing to do. Mad props to like my friends in high school who I knew that literally just were some of the most on people I've ever met in my entire life. They just did stuff, whatever they needed to do all the time. And like, that was not me in high school. So let's just talk about like the things that made it very hard. I probably had an hour or two of free time a day, which included like the time I spent eating dinner. So that meant I spent way less time watching anime, watching YouTube, playing League, and like talking with friends. Like, all things I like also do genuinely enjoy, but I just like spent way less time doing that. Not to mention that all the things that I did that I found like productive were all things that were like self-imposed. Like, I'm not in high school anymore where like a teacher will literally tell me, or like the school will tell me I have to go to school every single day and I have to go here and here and here, and there are like very immediate consequences if I don't do those things. And like everything I'm doing now is something that I quote unquote want to do, and so it's like if I don't do it, no one is there to like call me out on it. Like, if I don't make a video, no one really cares. Like, if I don't meditate or read or write, like, no one cares. Like, no one even knows that I don't do those things. It's completely, everything I want to do right now is completely self-driven. So that means not doing it is extremely easy because there are no external consequences to like me not doing these things. So it makes it very easy to just not do the things that I should or want to do, right? So like every day it's up to me to decide whether or not I want to be responsible and proactive. And it is always easier to do nothing and just play League of Legends. Like, literally always. So that being said, like, even though I was overall happier during that time period, I can't deny that I also felt way more stressed at times than I do when I just play League of Legends. So I'm the most productive in the morning and I have to leave the house at like 8 a.m. So I try to do everything I can before I leave the house in the morning. And so that means I try to wake up really early at 4:30, which means I try to be in bed at 8:30. And that's like a pretty tight schedule. So like waking up at 4:30 when you sleep at 9 is literally awful, right? It's not enjoyable at all. It's not easy and it's pretty hard. Waking up at 4:30 when you sleep later than 9 is actually just like the worst thing on earth. It's awful. It is beyond awful. And like there'd be times where my family would need help at like 8:30 or 9, and that would like push back my sleep schedule, and like the next day would just be awful. And like that caused me like a very good amount of stress. I knew that the next day if I did not get like enough sleep, I would feel awful. And so like it's like during those days when I only had like an hour or two a day to like kind of just kick back and do nothing, like my parents would sometimes just spring things on me, like, hey, you kind of need to come work right now. I'd have to go. And like I'd already started to value those 1 to 2 hours insanely, because like I spent the entire rest of the day like doing things that weren't necessarily super relaxing. And so I felt like really stressed out then too, when I would have to like go help my parents. And I knew for a fact that like the small amount of time that I had in a day that I'd like kind of saved out for myself, were like being trampled on. So that caused a lot of stress too. So like even when I was feeling like happy overall and like fulfilled and proactive or whatever, there were just times that I felt really stressed. There's a single caveat that I forgot to mention, that like being responsible and choosing to be productive and proactive is very fulfilling. That is only true if the things that you are doing and the things that you take responsibility for are things that you choose, or things that will lead to the things that you really want. Like for example, in high school, my junior year, I like for a very small period of time, I was like, I'm committed to just trying to be the best possible student I can. I'm going to try as hard as I can to just be the perfect student. I won't procrastinate. I'll focus really hard in class. I'll do everything I need to be the perfect student. And I tried that for like a day, and it was the worst. Like I didn't feel happy or fulfilled at all. I couldn't force myself to care about school when I just didn't care about it. Like you have to do things that are meaningful and fulfilling to you, or else this whole idea that being responsible and being productive will make you feel fulfilled is just a lie. That won't work unless the things that you're doing actually make you feel fulfilled. But on the other hand, like the awful feeling that comes when you spend an entire day doing nothing is so awful. Like it feels just hollowing. And it sucks even more to like look back on your life and to feel like that is the predominant feeling of your life. Eventually you just like look back and like you look in the mirror and you're like, what am I doing with my life? Like what is this? Like why do I do any of this? My point is that both of these paths suck in their own way, and they both are kind of awful. But like the problem for me has always been that once I start being lazy and like being a degenerate who just plays video games and watches TV, I just don't stop. Like it is so hard for me to stop playing video games or watching anime once I've started. I know that in the morning, whenever I first wake up, that is the time I need to like study really freaking hard, or do whatever I need to get done right away. Like, because otherwise, if I don't do everything I need in the morning and I just start by playing video games, I guarantee you I will never stop playing video games unless there is like someone standing over me, like threatening me to stop. And every day I wake up, I kind of just have to choose whether or not I want to be lazy and just play video games and play League of Legends and watch anime all day, or if I want to be like proactive and responsible and try to feel fulfilled, even though that takes so much more effort and willpower. So when I wake up in the morning, I tell myself that I choose the burden of responsibility over the numbness of laziness. And that's not always an easy choice to make, but it's one I have to.